The story begins with a woman named Mallory. She looks extremely scared as she explains something very important to her two children. She tells them that they are about to begin a long and dangerous journey. Mallory warns them that no matter how bad the situation becomes, they must always remember one rule: they should never remove the blindfolds from their eyes. If they hear the sound of water or notice any movement in the forest, they must inform her immediately. But under no circumstances are they allowed to take off their blindfolds. She warns them not to even touch the blindfolds, because doing so could cost them their lives. Mallory hasn't given the children names yet. She simply calls them boy and girl. Before starting the journey, she takes 3 birds along with her, keeping them inside a cage. The reason for this is the danger they fear. These birds can sense it before humans do and give an early warning. After that, Mallory steps outside the house with the children and begins moving toward the river through the forest. Since their eyes are covered, they carefully make their way using ropes. Somehow reaching a boat waiting at the riverbank, Mallory pushes the boat into the water and the 2 children. She helps them sit safely inside the boat, and with the river's waves, their deadly journey begins. But this raises an important question. What exactly are they so terrified of? And where are they heading? To uncover this mystery, the film takes us 5 years back. At that time, everything was completely normal. Mallory is shown working in her studio painting, and she is pregnant. Just then, her sister Jessica arrives and tells her that some very strange news is being reported on television. When Mallory turns on the news channel, she sees reports about a mysterious outbreak spreading across Russia and Europe, where thousands of people are committing suicide in large numbers. No one understands what's really happening, whether it's a deadly virus or some kind of attack. The only thing that's clear is that people suddenly see something. After that, they start behaving like they've lost their minds and end their own lives. This terrifying threat slowly begins spreading across the entire world at that moment. Mallory chooses to ignore the news and leaves with Jessica for her pregnancy checkup at the hospital. There, the doctor tells her that her baby is completely healthy and that she will soon become a mother. However, from Mallory's expressions, it's obvious that she isn't mentally prepared to take on the responsibility of a child yet. After the checkup, while they are heading back, Mallory suddenly notices a woman violently smashing her head against a glass wall. The sight terrifies her. She immediately runs and jumps into Jessica's car, panicking, and urges her to drive away quickly. Mallory tells her that the disaster from Russia has now reached their city as well. Both of them then rush back toward home. They speed away, but within moments, the atmosphere of the city completely changes. Cars begin crashing into each other on the streets. People run in all directions, trying to save their lives, and screams echo everywhere. Seeing this chaos, both of them panic badly. Suddenly, Mallory's phone starts ringing. As she turns around to answer it, at that exact moment, Jessica, who is driving, catches a glimpse of the creature. The instant she sees it, her eyes change in a strange way, and she falls under its influence. When Mallory looks ahead, she sees nothing at all. But Jessica is no longer in control of her mind. She suddenly accelerates the car. Mallory desperately tries to stop her, but Jessica doesn't slow down. The car crashes into another vehicle and flips over. By sheer luck, both of them manage to get out of the car alive. But before Mallory can fully understand what's happening, Jessica runs into the middle of the road and stands in front of a speeding truck, ending her own life. Witnessing such a horrific death of her own sister, Mallory is left completely traumatized. All around her, terrified people are running for their lives. Mallory too joins the crowd, trying to escape and survive. Mallory starts running with the crowd but trips and falls. Just then, a woman comes to help her. However, before Mallory can get up, the woman sees the same sinister creature. Enchanted by it, she climbs into a moving car and ends her own life. At that moment, a man named Tom rushes to help Mallory, pulling her inside a nearby house. Inside, a few people had already taken shelter. Everyone was in shock, staring at the terrifying scene outside. Phones weren't working, and people were worried about their families. On the TV, it became clear that invisible forces had spread across the world. Anyone who stepped outside with their eyes open would lose their life. The entire city was under emergency lockdown. Strict instructions to keep doors and windows tightly shut. Even outdoor lights had to be blocked so that no one accidentally glimpsed outside. 3 days passed under this looming fear, yet no one understood exactly what was happening. Radios repeatedly warned everyone to stay inside. During this tense period, another pregnant woman comes knocking at the door, begging for shelter. The people inside are scared she might be infected, but out of humanity, they cautiously let her in. Her name is Olympia, and like Mallory, she is 9 months pregnant. Now in the house. The biggest problem inside the house was that their food supplies were running out. There was a supermarket nearby, but how could they go there without looking outside? Then the house owner, Greg, comes up with an idea. He suggests that if they watch the outside through CCTV cameras on a screen, they might be able to step out safely since they wouldn't be looking at the creature directly. The others are hesitant, but a man named Crack says that if this plan works, they could get food from the nearby mall. Everyone agrees, and for safety, they tie Crack to a chair. Greg begins watching the outside on the screen, but within moments, the creature starts affecting him through the screen as well. His behavior turns strange, and he begins banging his head repeatedly, ultimately ending his life. Seeing this, everyone loses hope. They realize that whether you look at the creature directly or through a screen, the outcome is always death. The story then returns to the present. Mallory and the children have been traveling in the boat for the past 14 hours. She feeds the bird she brought along and tries to contact someone over the radio. Suddenly, the birds start squawking loudly, signaling that danger is nearby. At the same time, Mallory hears a terrifying voice calling her repeatedly. But she ignores it and keeps moving forward. After traveling some distance, from the riverbank, a man calls out, urging her to remove the blindfold. He tells her she's safe and even has food, but Mallory knows it's a trap. She quickly hides the children under blankets and fires her gun in all directions. The man swims up to the boat and tries to forcefully remove Mallory's blindfold, fearing for her life and her children's. Mallory fights back with all her strength, striking him with her weapon and injuring him, then escapes safely. The story then flashes back again. With the household running out of supplies, everyone comes up with a new plan to reach the supermarket. Tom suggests that they cover all the car windows completely and navigate solely using GPS. Following the plan, they paint over the windows and 5 people get into the car. The situation outside has grown worse. Streets are littered with corpses. They are forced to drive over the bodies, while the car's sensors keep beeping continuously, as if the shadows of the horrifying scene are closing in on them. The car shakes violently, but Tom manages to keep it under control. They somehow reach the supermarket. Once inside, the first thing they do is close the shutters. They find heaps of food and essential supplies, and their faces light up at the sight. They begin gathering as much as they can. During this, Mallory and Tom have a brief conversation, showing the start of mutual understanding and trust. Mallory notices 3 birds in a cage inside the supermarket and decides to take them along. These birds will later become her key allies. Just then, someone outside starts banging on the shutters, calling for help. From the voice, it's clear. It became clear that the man outside was one of the crazed people trying to harm others. Everyone tries to stop him, but he forcefully tries to get inside. At that moment, Charlie from the group pushes him out to save everyone, sacrificing his own life in the process. Here's an important detail. Some people, upon seeing the creature, immediately commit suicide. But others get infected, go insane, and attempt to show the creature to others while still remaining alive. This mystery unfolds later in the story. The remaining 4 gather supplies and return home, feeling disheartened. That night, 2 selfish members of the group, Rishi and Felix, steal the car and all the supplies, leaving the rest in grave trouble again. The story returns to the present. Mallory and the children have been traveling for 24 hours. Suddenly, their boat collides with a submerged truck in the river, and the boy falls into the water. Risking her life, Mallory manages to save him, but their food and blankets are washed away. Now, her worry increases. Without food and protection from the cold, can't survive for long. Mallory docks the boat and strictly warns the children not to remove their blindfolds. She enters an abandoned house in the forest in search of supplies. She finds some items, but the creature appears there as well, calling out to her in human voices. She flees while firing her gun. Hearing the gunshots, the girl unties herself from the boat and starts searching for Mallory. She inadvertently moves dangerously close to the creature. At the last moment, Mallory arrives, pulls her back, and scolds her harshly for breaking the rules. After this, the three of them, they continue moving toward their destination. The story then flashes back. The bond between Mallory and Tom is growing stronger. But that night, everything changes. Olympia lets a stranger named Gary into the house. He is visibly terrified and explains that some psychotic people are roaming outside people without blindfolds. They forcibly opened the eyes of his friends and showed them the creature. Strangely, these people don't die upon seeing it. They actually seem happy. Hearing this, everyone feels pity for Gary, but Douglas doesn't trust him at all. He tries to drive Gary out at gunpoint. However, the others side with Gary and lock Douglas in the garage. The next day, both Mallory and Olympia go into labor, creating chaos in the house. Taking advantage of the situation, Gary reveals his true colors. He pulls drawings of the creature from his bag and spreads them on the table, his eyes showing that he too is one of the crazed at the same time. Mallory gives birth to a boy and Olympia to a girl. Gary quietly traps Mallory's birds in the freezer and begins opening the curtains. Douglas, locked in the garage, realizes Gary's betrayal. When Tom comes downstairs, he rescues the birds after hearing Douglas. But Gary ambushes Tom from behind and knocks him unconscious. Gary goes upstairs and opens the windows. As soon as Olympia sees her baby, her gaze falls outside. She becomes entranced and jumps out of the window, ending her life. Mallory can't stop her in time, but she manages to save the baby. Gary then forcibly opens the eyes of another member, Sure, and causes his death as well. Now Gary moves toward Mallory, but she has covered herself and the two children with a sheet. At that moment, Douglas arrives, and keeping his eyes closed, tries to fight Gary. A struggle ensues. And as they fall down the stairs, Gary stabs Douglas with scissors. Killing him just then, Tom regains consciousness. He grabs a gun and shoots Gary, finally ending the threat. The story now jumps 5 years into the future. Mallory and Tom are raising the children together. Mallory trains the kids rigorously to survive, teaching them how to rely on sounds without ever looking outside. The danger outside is still very real. The crazed people are still hunting. One day, a man named Rick contacts them over the radio. He tells them that 2 days down the river lies a safe colony with plenty of birds to guide them by sound. He assures them there's no shortage of food or supplies there. Tom believes him, but Mallory suspects it's a trap. That night, a heated argument breaks out between Tom and Mallory. Mallory wants to teach the children only to survive, while Tom insists they must learn to live fully. He argues that the children need hope and love, and points out that she hasn't even given them names yet. Mallory is hurt by this, but she knows her strength lies solely in keeping the children safe. Tom convinces her that they must find a safe place. The next day, a gang of psychotic people attacks their home. Tom tells Mallory and the children to escape through the back while he confronts the crazed intruders. There are too many of them, so Tom removes his blindfold and courageously fights them off, killing most. But as he goes to finish off the last man, his gaze falls on the creature, and his mind begins to change. But before he can be fully controlled, he shoots the last man and then turns the gun on himself. Hearing the gunshot, Mallory realizes that Tom is gone. She returns home crying, now completely alone. With no one left to rely on, she decides to follow Rick's instructions to reach the safe place. And this is where the journey we saw at the very beginning begins. Back in the present, after 45 harrowing hours of travel, Mallory and the children are finally close to their destination. But the greatest challenge is still ahead, the fast-flowing river with its treacherous slope. Mallory tells the children to hold on tight. The current is so strong that their boat capsizes. All three fall into the water, yet no one removes their blindfolds. By sheer luck, they are swept to the shore safely now. They must follow only the sound of the birds through the forest to reach the safe house. But the creature is still on their trail, making strange noises to try to lure them. Mallory falls and loses consciousness, separated from the children. The creature imitates Mallory's voice to tempt the children into removing their blindfolds. The kids almost take them off, but Mallory regains consciousness just in time. Shouting and stopping them, she finds both children, and together they run toward the safe house, dodging the crazed ones along the way. They pound on the door, begging to be let in. The people inside quickly pull them in, carefully checking their eyes to ensure they are not infected. When Mallory finally removes her blindfold, she is stunned. They have arrived at a school for the blind. Most of the people there were born blind. The creature couldn't harm them at all. The place is full of birds and surrounded by lush greenery. There she meets Rick. And now she and the children are completely safe. The doctors at the safe house ask for the children's names. Mallory, who had been afraid to name them until now, finally does so. She names her daughter Olympia in memory of her mother, and her son Tom after the man who saved their lives. The children are thrilled to hear their names and immediately start playing with the other kids. This beautiful and emotional moment marks the end of the story. Friends, if you enjoyed the video, don't forget to like it and subscribe to the channel. Thank you.